Tom girls and cat boys, welcome to another great King Jiffy Codes video. Today we're going to be taking a dive into the last of the 3 Resistance games. I know you guys have been dying to see my conclusion on the series. After my soulful interpretation of the last 2 games, quite easy to understand why so many people have showed up to my house, knocked on my door, grabbed me by the ding-a-ding-a-ding-ding-ding, and said, "Where is the last Resistance video? I can't wait another week." Well, we're here, and I'm excited to get into this one.
It's so cute how you pretend like people actually care what you think about stuff.
Rude. I do believe that people actually watch my videos and like and subscribe, and one day I will be the biggest man on this platform.
I'm sure your wife will be very, very happy that you're big somewhere.
Come on, that's disingenuous. You don't need to be big to please a woman. You just need to have a vibrator and endless amounts of batteries.
I have one of those. It's shaped like Master Chief's.
Moving on. Anyway, this series has kind of put me for a little bit of a loop. The first game was a very mid-interpretation of what should be a Halo clone.
The first Resistance wasn't worth the schmegma off of Master Chief's nutsack.
It had some decent ideas, but I don't think it landed on anything quite solidly with the first entry. The second entry I thought hit it out of the park.
Kinda like your wife hits your asshole from the back with a giant strap on.
And honestly, I thought that the second game ended with a pretty good conclusion, kind of buttoning everything up in a nice little bow.
What gives you the right to ignore me, you fat cuck?
Which brings us to Resistance 3, and why should it even exist, and what are we even doing?
Well, I know what I'm doing. I'm leaving, not because you're ignoring me, but because I'm sick of looking at your gelatinous ass.
In this segment, I'd like to call Advice on Women. You only give them power when you speak to them. As you all probably already know, at the end of the second game, we kind of lost the main protagonist of the series. Here, let me give you a little refresher course.
Forgive me, sir. It was an honor.
That's right, old Capelli, I'm gonna call him Joe. Old Joe decided to send Nathan Hale out the way of John F. Kennedy. You know what they say, if it's good enough for a president, it's good enough for a guy that shoots aliens on Earth. Hello?
You know, King Jiffy Coats, it's not okay to make jokes about the president.
Slight correction for you there, compadre. Previously dead president.
That doesn't matter, you're still on a watch list.
Well, I guess I'll make sure to pay my taxes this year. Until then, you can generously fuck off. You gotta love when Uncle Sam tries to tickle your taint. You know a fun fact? Sometimes when women give birth, their taint rips all the way open because their vagina spreads so far. That's one unfortunate fact for today. Okay, let's get back to your regularly broadcasted video game slop. Now, last video, I definitely went through the entire story and then presented you with the gameplay and all that jazz, and I thought that that was an interesting way to do it because I thought that the story was such a focal point of what that game was trying to do. Now, the gameplay was very incredible. They had streamlined a lot of things. The game didn't feel like a copy and paste of something else that was smashing against another and copy and paste, just kind of shoved into a narrative that also looked like a lot of other things. That's the first game. The first game was all over the fucking place and was trying to do everything and not really succeeding at any of it, but it was an okay game. The second game decided to be a Call of Duty clone with the Halo aesthetic and then do its own fucking thing, and I really liked it. It felt like it was authentic to itself, and then it tried to tell a powerful story as well, leaving us where we're at now with the death of the main character, leading us to now be Joe. Joe is kind of living in a bunker, kind of Fallout style, in the middle of nowhere while the aliens are taking over the entire world. It's kind of put us in this new perspective. This game feels so much different than the first 2 entries. Not only that we're playing as a new protagonist, but we're also in kind of a new environment. We're no longer at the head of a war. We're not pushing forward. It seems like we've lost, and the world's gone straight up Fallout, Rage, Borderlands style. It's just kind of there. You're living in it. There's not much you can do until you're rang from an old friend, that old motherfucker from the last 2 games who gets brutally killed. I made sure to put that at the beginning of the video because I thought it was kind of funny to watch the old guy die at the beginning and then just not commented on it at all until I got way late in the video and didn't even use that footage. That way the people who have never played this game have to go back to the beginning of the video just to see the clip I'm talking about. I don't know, the shit's funny for me. It might not be as funny for you. The guy you're seeing now is the white trash piece of shit who decided to kill the old guy that has been kind of pushing your way along. He's been pushing you forward to try to end this war once and for all. He has a grand idea that says, hey, if we go to Philadelphia where it's froze over and Will Smith has got his career back, we can stop these clip biters where they stand, because all women know they don't like when their clit gets bit off, and these motherfuckers be biting clits off like crazy. But due to the guy dying, you do have to spend some time killing humans, and then other parts of the game you'll go through and like fight monsters for different perspectives of different people. Like, there's this one point where you go into a little cave and you have to, like, save a preacher and throw fucking gasoline tanks in the monster's mouth. That's the best part of the entire game, is this one section where I'm throwing gasoline tanks into this fucking giant monster's mouth and shooting him in the fucking eyes. I don't know, I really like this. This was really cool. I know I'm getting lost in the sauce like I always do. I just thought this was a really cool moment. I wanted to highlight it, but it kind of feels how this game is. If you're wondering why I'm bouncing all over the place, because that's what this entire title does. You'll go from fighting aliens and monsters to fighting humans because you're getting attacked by rednecks. And normally I would say this is a con to what a game was trying to do. It's losing focus. It's all over the place. I've made fun of shit like South of Midnight because South of Midnight had absolutely no point to what it was doing. You were bouncing here, you were bouncing there, you were bouncing everywhere, followed by the hair of a derriere that smells like ass and cheeks. But unlike South of Midnight, this game has a much different goal in mind. It's trying to build out the world, trying to show you that a lot has happened since the last game. A lot of things have gone the way of the dodo bird. Shit is no longer focused. It's no longer about humanity trying to band together to end an alien force invading their homeland. No, no, no. We have gone past that. Humanity is in crumbles. They are just fighting for survival. Some have become the cannibals. Some have become religious nutbags. It's all their typical Fallout post-apocalyptic bullshit. But it's nice to see that this is where the world has slowly become. This is what we have to live with in this point in time, because even though Nathan Hale and the boys had thwarted the aliens' efforts at every turn, it didn't quite put them on their ass cheeks. It didn't quite push them far behind. It was just like Nathan Hale said at the end of the last game, we are far from over. This is just the beginning. And to see society crumble all the way around us, the fact that Joe has kind of become stagnant and just wanting to be the family man who wants to make sure his family's safe above all else, I think is a really cool perspective to start the third game out with, and a really cool idea to push the game forward, to really make you feel like you're living in a world that has fallen apart. Unlike the last two games where you're jumping place to place to try to move your military force forward, this is about a lived-in, breathed-in place, about a place that is slowly dying and imploding upon itself, that if you do not stop this alien force, you will slowly begin to eat each other bit by bit, which I think is an incredible place to take the game and the series. With the way that I'm taking my penis out and truly glazing this game's entire world building, it might make you think that I think the other two games' world building is basically the equivalent of a leaking colostomy bag. To be honest, it's kind of not that at all. I feel like the only game that I had a lot of gripes with the story and world building was the first game. The second game I feel like did its job and it did its purpose very well. It was very guided, the story was very powerful, and it did everything right, leaving this game and this protagonist in a situation where he was just kind of done with everything. He had to shoot one of his platoon members in the fucking head. You don't think that's gonna mess him up for a while and just have enough of this whole alien bullshit and want to just protect his family that was the whole sole purpose of him doing all this shit to begin with? Absolutely, I see that as being his purpose. So it made sense to me why this game started with him just not wanting to deal with this shit anymore. He just said, fuck it, I'm gonna let the world do its thing, and if the world goes to hell, as long as my family's safe, you all can pound fucking sand up your dick hole until it bleeds. Now, the big downplay, I think, of all of this is the real main story. It's basically go to place, destroy thing, end alien invasion. It's very bare bones. And I thought it'd be a little bit more advanced and smarter considering how well done the last game's story was, with the main antagonist being like this giant schmiggle-biggle person who was the embodiment of both an alien and human and had the intelligence of a human but also wanted to take over the entire world by pushing the aliens' objectives and also trying to brainwash the main protagonist. Holy shit, the antagonist of the last game was a political influencer. But that being said, this third game really kind of misses the point on not really having a protagonist. It's just kind of being in a lived-in world. It kind of falls into the same tropes as the first game in that aspect, where you're going place to place and just kind of dealing with things. Now, I think this game does it incredibly better. I think that every little zone has something that you can take away from it, some memorable moment, but when it comes down to the actual story itself, basically boils down to a bitch laying down in your bed starfishing and waiting to get fucked and not really doing anything. Is it still getting your dick off? Yeah, pretty much, but is it really going to be something you tell your friends, wow, dude, that story really made me bust harder than I've ever busted before. No, it's gonna be one of those forgettable fucks. But at the same time, if she's got nice tits, a nice pussy, and a pretty face, you'll look back at the whole engaging situation and say, yeah, dude, at least it had like that stuff going for it. There's gonna be that memorable part, even if the sex wasn't that great. And for my women audience out there that are like, hey, that seems kind of sexist, it's like a dude who just lays on his back and waits for you to climb on and does absolutely nothing. Again, not gonna be a memorable fuck, but hey, he might gotta have abs or a good chin or something. I don't know what girls like. Just whatever makes you tickle and tell your girlfriends that, wow, he was so fucking hot, but he was a terrible fuck in bed. That's the same kind of thing we're going for here, and that's kind of what the story boils down to. A lot of good things leading up to the ending and leading up to where you're gonna finally do your all-out assault, but when it gets there, it's not really memorable. Now that we've gotten the story out of the way, I want to talk about the gameplay mechanics, and before even that, I want to talk about this new weapon. It's got this like electric disintegrator gun. This thing fucking rocks. It's like a shotgun on steroids with electric disintegration power. I had a lot of fun with this thing. At first, I didn't know if I was gonna like it or not, but then when I started melting some enemies and turning them into bloody floor cum, I realized this is one of the best weapons put in video games. And that's something about this entire experience with the third game. Any gripes I had with the second game's combat, they're fixed in the third game. And that's kind of how the second game was for the first. It's one of those experiences when it comes to the actual mechanics of the gunplay and movement and everything that makes the game tick, each iteration has gotten slightly better. And that's something that I like to tickle a series' butthole over. I like to put a finger in and just wiggle it back and forth and say, hey, you did a good job this time, pal. And it is kind of funny how when you get to the third entry in this series, it'll bring back stuff like the weapon wheel from the first game, but it'll keep kind of the mechanics of the second game, so it kind of creates an amalgamation of both games without doing it piss poorly. It looked at what it did with the first game, where it was amalgamation of a bunch of bullshit, and said, yeah, we don't really want to fucking do that, so it slimmed down the mechanics and tightened them up for the second game, the exact thing I wanted it to do. Again, finger, butthole, good boy, pal. Then it said in the third game, okay, we want to kind of move forward, we want to like push this, we want to make it feel authentically different than just a Call of Duty clone or a Halo clone. How do we do that? Well, let's bring back the weapon wheel, let's make it feel a little bit more quakey, and let's really push forward. And it does a great job with that. The downsides, I will have to say, are there, and it's not really with the mechanics, it's more with the visuals. This game brought back the piss filter in its full glory. I thought the second game did a really good job with utilizing bright colors and contrast. When you saw somebody whip their dick out, you could tell it was a dick. But when it comes to the first and third game, it's like they strapped you down to the table, whipped their dick out, started peeing on your face, and they said, can you tell what's peeing on you? And you said, yeah, it's a dick. It's obviously a dick. Piss is coming out of it. It's hanging in front of me. It's just a little blurry and yellow. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because most of the guns in this game have a yellow sight on them, which just makes everything even more piss colored, which was super annoying through my entire playthrough. And it was one of those things that was distracting enough from the beginning to the end of the game. I was fucking calling it out on my stream where I was annoyed about it. I was like, get this fucking piss filter out of my face. What am I, R. Kelly? This shit doesn't turn me on. Another thing I took kind of personally was the way they changed the sniper rifle. Well, it's not the biggest deal, I think, but it is something that annoyed me a lot. In the first two games, when you honed in on somebody with a sniper rifle scope, yeah, you could hit a button and go slow motion. It was cool. It made the gun way too OP, but it was super fun to fucking use. In the third game, it got rid of that. Now you have a super shot, and it's gay and cringe, and I don't like it. This is one of those things you gotta charge up like it's a railgun. Why didn't you just put a railgun in the game, guys? Come on, leave the sniper rifle alone. It was cool. I felt like I was going into a John Woo movie, and now all of a sudden I got a normal fucking sniper rifle. That was the only gripe with all the weapons. I have to say, other than the graphics being piss filtered and the fact that the sniper rifle sucked, every gun in this game is better than its previous iteration. Hands down. I mean, the gripes I had about the gun where you shoot through the walls, the auger, it actually can see through walls again, instead of me having to fucking go around, give the enemy a reach around, jump back behind cover, and then I could see him through walls. This game actually allows me to see him through walls again. That's cool. That is exactly what the gun could do in the first game. It makes sense that it can do it in the third game. I don't know why the sniper rifle got worse, but, well, I'm griping about the wrong gun again. But I didn't like that they kind of figured out what worked and what didn't, and I feel like some of the stuff that they used for balancing did probably make multiplayer a little bit better, probably made the game a little better in terms of balance, where you're not relying too much on the sniper rifle as opposed to the auger and some of the other weapons. Another cool addition they added into this was the fact that instead of getting to like the last portion of the campaign and picking up the same gun you've been using the entire time, only now now it's magically more powerful because the enemies are more powerful. This game, you actually level up your guns the more you use them. So if there's some guns that you don't utilize a bunch, you won't level those up a bunch. So as you consistently use a weapon, you will notice that you'll get these little star notifications on your screen saying, hey jabroni, you popped another pussy, it's time for you to get more power. And as you progress, you'll either get better magazines, better reloading, more power. The auger will shoot 3 rounds at once instead of 1. You get a lot of cool little things throughout the campaign like that, which actually builds for better play styles and different play styles. Again, kind of putting you in this hybrid of a normal FPS game to almost RPG, but not really RPG at all. It just kind of has a cool upgrade system that I hadn't seen in a game before, and I like the way that the more you utilize something, the faster it upgrades itself. Now, there is 2 other weapons that I didn't bring up and I didn't even grab gameplay for because I thought they were kind of fucking dumb. They worked, they did their job, but there's one that shoots like poop particles. It's lame. You don't use it on anybody other than the humans in the one prison level, which wasn't really fun. It was one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're world building, but I don't want to be fighting humans in my alien shooting game. It's like, oh, why do I need to kill rednecks? Because the rednecks exist and they want to like molest my butthole and then eat my thighs because they're probably cannibals too. The other gun is the ice gun, and I feel like it's useful, but it's not as useful as the like disintegrator electric gun, so it just kind of feels like something that took up a spot that was really not utilized as much as it probably should have been. But again, that's something cool about the weapon upgrade system in this game. If I go and replay this and decide to kind of focus on the guns that I underutilized this time, my next playthrough will be completely different. I'll have different OP weapons that I really didn't mess with the first go round, and that's something that really goes to show that the gameplay in this was a lot more thought out than the other 2 games and what they did, because this game has instant replayability where I'm thinking, ooh, if I went through it this time focusing on pistol and then really like focusing on the cryo shot and the poop smear gun, I could have myself a weird little jackass build that would be really fun to mess around with. And it's something that you start to think about and get your brain from slamming symbols together like a monkey in a circus to really being Einstein giving blowjobs at a yacht club. There's nothing like figuring out how to split an atom while you're trying to suck cum out of a dick. You know what I mean, guys? Dear God, what the fuck am I even talking about? Another thing this game really did well was figure out what the movement system was going to be. Now, I know in this era of video games, a lot of console shooters were having trouble trying to figure out how to jump that PC barrier. And if you don't know what I mean by that, PC controls had figured out what they were going to do a long time ago. They were like, here's the movement keys, you shoot with the mouse, good fucking luck, compadre, you got this shit. Slap you on the taint and get your moving. They're like, you'll go slap clit and have a good time. Consoles were like, we don't really know what the fuck we're doing. Halo had kind of figured it out. Halo 2 had streamlined it. Now, other games had tried to do some funky things here, and Call of Duty was really streamlining the effort in one department, and other games that were sitting out there like, wow, well, what the fuck do we do? You look at Resistance 1, where it was just all over the place with its weird fucking controls, and it was trying new things. None of them were really fucking landing. Resistance 2 almost had it, but it decided to attach the sprint and crouch button to the same button, which makes no fucking logical sense, and when you try to change it, it still keeps the sprint and crouch button to the same button, so you're constantly accidentally crouching when you're trying to sprint. Resistance 3 moves like butter. It is creamy. It's the type of shit you melt on your wife's titties. I loved it. It's just so streamlined. And one more thing about the story that I kind of want to touch on. The first game side characters I said were one-dimensional. The second game's side characters, mwah, chef's kiss. Ooh, so beautiful. Nipples hard. I'm playing sword fighting with my nipples. They're so hard, baby. But then the third game, they're slightly past to one-dimensional. They exist. You got one guy that you follow around who's like a resistance leader. He's okay. That one antagonist, redneck guy, he kind of exists. It's just, like I said, this game kind of feels like a one-shot. Every time you meet somebody new, you know you're going to be dealing with them for a while. You deal with the scientist guy for the first portion of the game, along with some of your other jabronis who live in the sewers with you. Then you move on to the next section, and you're dealing with this guy for a little while, and then you're dealing with another guy, and it just kind of goes on and on and on that way. And it kind of sucks because when you look at the second game and what they were able to do with the core unit you had, I really missed that in this. Now, again, I think that what they did with this, with the world building, incredible, perfect, and with that character design that they have for this game, it works for that idea, and it pushes that idea forward. But when you look at it compared to the second game, I'm like, man, I wish that I had my jabronis there to slap my taint paint with me, right? I wish that they could just reach in and grab my elongated clit and move it back and forth and say, we're your friends again. I miss that little camaraderie. Even when they were choking each other out. Oh God, when they choked each other out. I'm getting lost in the sauce again. But when they were choking each other out, I was really engaged in what was going on. I really liked the dynamic between everybody. When I lost a character, I felt sad. And that was something even in this game. When I lose the scientist guy, it didn't have as much impact as losing the black nerdy guy from Resistance 2. Like, I was legitimately sad when I lost the beautiful, deep voice Steve Urkel. It was something that actually impacted me. I'd already found out about his family. I'd kind of grown to love this character. So when he died, it did have an impact on me. So the fact that the scientist dies, and it's impactful sort of, but it's not as impactful as it should have been after dealing with the same character through 2 different games previous to this. And I feel like that was just kind of something that was a little bit mishandled, especially with knowing the fact that they could have set up an antagonist at the beginning of this game that was pushing its way through till the end, that when he kills the scientist, it then reinforces you to say, yeah, dude, I was already after you, this just makes me fucking double down, but instead it's just another resistance leader of a different group of cannibal rednecks or some shit. And that to me was kind of a misstep, and that's where I'm going to look at this kind of a story a little more critically than I would of the last game. In fact, the only interesting dynamic you really get is out of the main character. Joe is really dealing with the fact that he doesn't want to be doing this, that he is just kind of forced into this so that he can give his wife and child a better life. He is told by his wife and child, hey, we know you can fucking kill all these guys, we know you have the abilities to do it, please do this for us. You are the fucking man. When you come back, you can grab my sweet ass, you can lick my sweet lips, you can take a bite out of that roast beef, but until then, we need you to make this world a better place for our son to grow up in. And throughout the campaign, there is some little moments where you kind of get nods back to hope his son and wife are doing okay. There's actually a moment where he wants to turn a plane around because he finds out that their aliens are invading that area, and he's like, fuck the fucking Philadelphia bullshit. Will Smith can drag his dick across that ice all he wants to. I want to go back and save my family, and that's a really good moment. And I really wish that there was more moments like that. Maybe if the campaign would have focused itself a little better, and you're going on this kind of this run from the aliens, that eventually you have to make a sharp turn to then push back, and the whole time, maybe about halfway through the game or 3/4 through the game, you actually have to separate from your family, or they kidnap your family or something like that. Something to keep me pushing forward. Yes, you can still have the world building where you get these little distractions that are just kind of a necessity to show that this world has fallen into fucking post-apocalyptic nightmare zone, but still have that core essence of family and love, and you're doing this for them, because I feel like you get a little lost. I've made this comparison in the past. When you play Fallout 4, there is something that's missing compared from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4. In Fallout 3, every single conversation you have, you're like, where's my daddy? Daddy, I miss you so much. And the little, like, ghoul guy's looking at you like, bro, I don't know who the fuck your dad is, but you're weird as fuck. Maybe, grow the fuck up and move out of your parents' basements. But in Fallout 4, you're trying to look for your kid, and the motherfucker never brings it up. He's never like, have you seen this dude with a baby? He just doesn't ask. He doesn't care. You meet some new random guy, he's like, oh, dude, nice cock. You want to fuck? And you're like, aren't you looking for your kid or something? Don't bring that up, bro. I'm having fun in the wasteland. And that's a real problem when you're playing through Fallout 4, because of the fact that you don't feel that push of the story to keep you forward. And I kept running into that throughout this campaign. But again, I'm sounding like your whiny bitch ex-girlfriend or your whiny bitch ex-husband here, and I'm just kind of whining a lot, and it seems like I hate this experience, when in fact it's the opposite. I kind of see this game as a huge win in some aspects and a huge loss in others, but the wins really outpace the loss. And when you're playing this game, you will understand what I'm talking about. Every moment is big and impactful. Do you have the big boss moments from Resistance 2? No, but you really don't miss them, and that's something cool to be said when you're playing a game like this compared to the last game where you're fighting giant amalgamation monsters that are throwing buildings down, and giant monsters that are jumping out of the water and shooting them with like the electric detonators and shit. You would think that those not being in the second game and only having a couple of moments like that, you would miss it a lot, but you really don't. It's kind of crazy how they really cut the enemy variety way down for the third entry, and it doesn't feel like it's lost or feel very repetitive or annoying like you think it would when you cut down enemy variety. It actually feels way more streamlined, something that I have yet to run into with a game, so I think that this is really impressive. Usually when you run into a game and it feels like they've cut a lot of enemies out of the game, take for Halo for example. example. I love the Halo series. I've always been a big fan of the Halo series. I made tons of jokes about this series being a Halo clone, but when you play Halo Reach, I feel like the Flood being missing is a huge omission for the series as a whole, and I felt like that game was really missing something. It was a step back, in my opinion, from the previous entries. Now, I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I thought it was. I felt like the whole experience was missing something. And when I look at Resistance 3 and how they still cut a lot of the different enemy types from the experience, you'd think that I would have the same gripe, but I don't, because of how streamlined this motherfucker is. I really think that the combat is so buttoned down and so precise in this entry that it'll make you forget about a lot of the cons, and I only bring it up because I do this channel, because I'm making this video, because I want to be honest to my audience to the most degree. And when you do get to the end and have your big boom moment where you finally kill off all the aliens, you've really shoved it up their ass this time. They're not gonna have a solid poop for a week because you broke up everything in their intestinal column. You feel like it was a truly great entry in the series. Now, if I were looking at you today from the spot I'm in, and I had to say all three games, throwing them right at you, what's my thoughts? Well, I'm going to rank Resistance 2 the best. I think it's the best game in the series. I think that even though it has its faults, its story and its pacing outlive everything in this game. Also, its set design, its level design, the cool different areas you go to, again, that's kind of in set design, but the biomes being so cool and so diverse, and the big moments being that much bigger, I think Resistance 2 takes the cake, even though it has some wonky controls and shit. Now, the next one is easily Resistance 3. I think when you compare Resistance 2 and Resistance 3, you have compare and contrast arguments to why each of them could be the best in the series. I really think that you can make the case that Resistance 3 is the best in the series, and I would actually look at you and be like, yeah, it's fair enough. But me personally, I think Resistance 2 is. And then way down at the bottom is Resistance fucking 1. That game is mid. It's got some stuff that goes for it, other shit that doesn't work at all. And it's just something that I can look at that game and really see it as a moment in time, as everything trying to be a Halo clone and trying to fucking take that mantle from Halo at the time, which Call of Duty ended up doing with Call of Duty 4. And as Joe gets his reunion with his family, I want to leave you with one more thought, and this is something that I think that everyone who plays on any console or cares about any company should say. I think that everyone should want and demand PlayStation to remaster these games. If they're going to remaster the fucking Last of Us 8 times just so we can see Abby get her back blown out one more time, and so that you have to like hit a button prompt to wipe the cum off of her back, and they're like, oh, that deserves a whole new release. Well, if that can happen, I think that PlayStation can release some of these fucking bangers that they're leaving in their backlog. And I think even with Xbox and Steam and all these other fucking areas, if there's a game that's missing in the landscape, I think that us as gamers should really try to petition and try to get these games back into the ecosystem, back into the world. And I hate when media starts to die, and this is a great example of a media that was dying and is on the verge of one day being lost. And I just want all of us as gamers to demand more, to demand that these games be saved and be fucking ported to every place possible in order to preserve this thing we care so much about. And with that, guys, I want to leave you guys out. I'm out of here. You guys have a good one. I'll catch you on the next one.